David Ducker coming back at you, and today we're going to be doing an RPG review for Savage Worlds. I have the Explorers Edition here. I've also perused the Deluxe Edition at length, so I'm quite familiar with the rule set on paper. Now I've only played it maybe 4 times, about 4 hours each, so what is that, 16 hours in the bank. But they were very mechanic-heavy sessions. They were tutorial sessions to learn the mechanics. So I do feel confident and qualified to do a video review. If I mess it up, in hindsight, I will re-record and delete this one. So I may be wasting my own time, but I don't think I am. And I may be wasting your time, but I hope that I'm not. So we're going to break it down chapter by chapter, as we always do. Chapter 1, Character Creation. So Savage Worlds is very, very fast in its character creation. I'm shocked at how fast it is. It's even faster than GURPS. And yet it is a point-buy system, so you can build pretty much any character that you want. You're not constrained by classes the way you are in something like Pathfinder, Rogue Trader, something like that. So the character creation I quite like. They take you through your attributes, of which I believe you have 5, and they are die coded. So you start with a D4 in everything. Average, however, is a D6, so you have to buy your way up just to be average. And then you can progress, a D8, a D10, a D12. Past the D12, you just add +1 to your total. And the core mechanic is simply, you're looking for a 4 on your dice roll. So on a D4, you only have a 25% chance of success. On a D6, what is that? A 50% chance of success. A D8 slightly above, and so on. So I really like this this system quite a bit. There is an exception to the core, or an addendum to the core, and that's you have 2 types of characters. You have extras and heroes. They call them wild cards. Extras just roll flat, just as I just described. Extras also cannot take wounds. Their very first wound takes them out. Wild cards, however, always roll a d6 in addition to whatever else they're rolling. And they take the highest of the 2. So if you're a wild card, you're much more likely to succeed. And you're more likely to have an average roll instead of a very swingy roll. And you can always homebrew that out. I don't think it's a bad rule, but you can certainly homebrew it out easily. So character creation takes you through your attributes, and then your skills will be next. Nothing revolutionary in that. And basically you can buy your skill up to whatever its attribute is. So I believe swimming, for example, is based on your strength. So if your strength is a D8, you can buy swimming up to a D8 pretty cheaply. But if you try to exceed your natural potential, you're going to have a hard time. You just have to spend more XP to do it. It's harder for you to do. So that's, again, similar to GURPS, and I quite like that mechanic. Then you have your hindrances and edges. So these are basically your benefits and drawbacks, your feats and malignancies, whatever you want to call them. They have a nice little list. It is, of course, expanded on in other books. The line is very large. There's a lot of books out there for you to peruse. But that's pretty basic. Nothing I really need to go into great detail with there. A lot of edges, quite a fair number of hindrances. That'll bring us to Chapter 2, which is your gear. Weapons, armor, ranged weapons. So the way that works, for your melee weapons, each one has a die code. A dagger is a D4, short sword is a D6, a arming sword is a D8, although they call it a long sword, which we know is inaccurate, but that's what they call it anyway. So you add this to your strength, and that is what your damage is. So my strength is a D8, and I'm using a arming sword. I roll 2d8, add them together, that's my total damage. So I'll skip ahead just because it's pertinent, But armor basically gives you a bonus to your toughness. So the way combat works, you roll your fighting or shooting, uh, and that is opposed by their parry, which is usually a portion of their fighting, plus any shield. The shield keeps them from hitting you, which makes perfect sense. And pole arms also, I believe, give you a small parry bonus as well. So you roll your fighting against their parry. If you beat them, then you get to roll damage. And that damage is opposed by their toughness. So your damage has your weapon plus your strength. Or if it's ranged, it'll have a die code. And that's opposed to their toughness, which is their physical toughness, and their armor. If you beat that, then you've stunned them. Now, in Savage Worlds, if you beat any DC by 4, 4 is the magic number in Savage Worlds. If you beat it by 4, they call that a raise. So if you beat their parry by 4, you get an extra damage dice, which is always a d6 for this extra die. If you beat their toughness by 4, that raise inflicts a wound upon them. Heroes can take 3 wounds. Extras cannot take any wounds. They'll be sorted out immediately. And of course, the base to beat their toughness, the base effect is to stun them. So they're just, Mortal Kombat style, waiting for the finishing move. They can't really do anything while they're stunned. They do get a roll to try to recover from that. So that may actually be more information than is given in Chapter 2, but I think it's all fairly pertinent. I will mention also about the gear. It's not tremendously crunchy. There's not a huge variety, but there is enough to roll with there. So it's a minimal crunch system in many ways. Chapter 3 is the game rules. So they take you through what's the difference between a wild card and an extra. There's also a mechanic called bennies, which are similar to fate points or destiny points. These basically let you re-roll anything that you want to roll. If you want to see if you can ace, if you can beat it by, or excuse me, raise, you want to beat it by 4, you can re-roll to try that. If you fail, you can spend a benny to re-roll that. You can also use bennies to soak wounds, so you can be tougher. So these don't allow you to do anything you couldn't already do, but they allow you to be more consistent in your application and to apply extra effort. So I quite enjoy the way that bennies work. Speaking of acing, all the dice explode. So if you roll the maximum number on the die, if it's a d8 and you roll an 8, you roll that dice again, and you add the 2 totals together. So if I roll a d8, I get, 8, I roll again, 4. So my total is going to be 12, 4 plus 8. Excellent. They call that acing. Pretty much any dice can ace. So you have aces, raises, wild cards. They almost have like a poker theme. And speaking of which, their initiative system uses playing cards. I don't like it. I find it very slow. So I usually just homebrew it out. But I know some people really love it. So it's a bit slow, but and it's a different mechanic. Like Savage Worlds is usually great at sticking to their core mechanic. The one thing that they use cards for is a little weird that they would do that, but again, very easy to homebrew out. Let's see if there's anything else in the game rules section I need to explain. I don't believe so. It's a fairly short section. It's about 20 pages. Chapter 4 is your arcane backgrounds. I love their magic system. Their arcane background is excellent. Basically, you have the power source, and then you have the power itself. So they've given you several default sources: magic, miracles, superpowers, weird science, and psionics, psychic powers. They've given you 5 in this core book here. They're all a bit different. Miracles are very reliable, but you only get 2 powers by taking it. Magic is less reliable, but you get 3 powers by taking it. Psionics, very similar to Magic, but even worse things happen when you mess up. Superpowers, extremely reliable, but you'll usually only get one power. You have to level each power up individually instead of leveling up your power source. I won't go into weird science because I don't like weird science. I haven't really read that one. Um, so those are your sources, and then they just give you a list of powers. You know, heal, bolt, grow, obscure, invisibility. There's a very long list of powers. So you can just go through and say, okay, I am a magician, I have magic, and the magic powers that I have, I get 3 at first level at novice rank, and then from there, you just progress via XP. So I really like it. Super flexible. The way the powers work, it does have power points, which is a mana system. So you spend whatever the power costs, and then you make a roll against your source, your skill. How good of a magician are you? How good of a priest are you? The priests have faith, so it's how faithful of a priest are you. If you succeed on the roll, you succeed on the power. If you fail on the roll, you've wasted those points, so they're gone. And in Magic and Psionics, if you roll a 1 on your test, then bad things happen. If you're a magician, it stuns you, or if you're already stunned and you somehow manage to cast, it wounds you. If you're a psionic, it's even worse. It stuns everyone in an area around you. I believe it's called brain burn or mind burn or something like that. It's quite bad, but quite fun as well. And of course, superpowers you don't have to roll. You can just do your power, but it costs more to get each power. Chapter 5, Situational Rules, is about 30 pages. They cover a lot. Vehicle rules, mounted combat, fear, insanity. Some of these are optional. You don't have to include them. The basics: fire, falling, drowning, disease, radiation. So it's kind of a miscellaneous section there. Then chapter 6 is the game master section. It's only about 10 pages. It's not a great section. It's very basic, and it's not a big complaint. A lot of rule sets have no game master section. Chapter 7 is villains and monsters. So this, first of all, they tell you, they give you some tools to build villains and monsters, which is nice. And then they give you a small bestiary. It's quite small. It's quite small. It's fairly generic. You know, but it's there. So it's probably like the least you can give someone without just not including it. So I'm happy that it's there. It gives you examples of stat blocks, but can you run a full campaign on it? It'd be tough. Like you could, but it'd be tough. Now again, character creation is so fast and it gives you the rules to make creatures as well, that a lot of the problem there is nullified. One thing about GURPS, for example, their bestiary is even worse. In 3rd edition, I haven't perused 4th edition to that detail, but 3rd edition GURPS, the bestiary in the book is terrible, like completely subpar, and they don't give you monster creation rules, and the character creation is slower. Although GURPS is fast, but it's just not as blazing fast as Savage Worlds is. So my overall review of Savage Worlds, it would probably be in the A range. I find combat a little bit slow. That's my main criticism, and everything else is like pretty darn good or really good. The character creation is really good. It's not super detailed. The gear is pretty good. It's not super detailed. The magic is excellent. A plus. It's so versatile. You do anything that you want to do with it. And it's pretty much all there. The deluxe rule book has more magic spells. It has more edges and hindrances. It has this. I believe it has more gear as well, a little bit more gear. It has pretty much the same skills and the same bestiary, which I was sad about. But I would say the deluxe edition is worth it just for the extra magic alone. Some of my favorite spells are not in this little Explorers Edition guidebook. They're only in the deluxe edition. Although the lineup has a million splat books and a million setting books and adventures as well. Everything from Slipstream to Space 1889 to Hellfrost to Rippers. There's a huge, huge lineup. And check out Game Geeks if you haven't already, because Kurt Weigel has reviewed a ton of Savage Worlds products on there, and it always gets my gears turning as far as what I can do with any system. But now it's like a shopping list now that I've really gotten into Savage Worlds. That's pretty much all I have to say about Savage Worlds. So I'd definitely give it an A rating, probably an A minus. Highly recommended from me. An A minus is tremendous. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think of Savage Worlds? Do you think it's great? Did I miss a criticism? Do you think it's terrible? And I missed a lot of criticisms. So let me know in the comments below. And until I see you again, good day and good gaming.